Today, there were no cameras, and for that, she was thankful. She was used to cameras, of course. They had been there since she began winning international track meets at age 12 and captured her elation when at 18 she helped her University of North Carolina women's basketball team win a national title. They had tracked her every step at the 2000 Olympics in Sydney, where she became the first woman to take home 5 medals in a single Olympics. And they had surrounded her nearly 11 months ago when she had given a statement on the steps of the federal courthouse in White Plains, New York, giving those medals back. Footage would always exist of the absolute best moments in her life as an athlete and for her rock bottom lowest points. This experience, walking away from a nondescript halfway house in San Antonio and preparing to restart her life, well, it fell somewhere in the middle. Today is Friday, September 5th, 2025, and on this day in 2008, disgraced sprinter Marion Jones completed a 6-month prison stint for her involvement in the BALCO doping scandal and a linked check fraud scheme. I'm your host, Running Up That Hillary, and you are listening to Today in Running History. It is Fueled Friday, which means that today's episode is sponsored by Fuel Goods. I have been a subscriber to the Fuel Goods Runner Box for about 3 years now, and I love it because every 2 months, I receive a box with all sorts of running fuel and accessories and just all sorts of running-related products that I otherwise may have never even discovered. You'll have to check out the Fuel Goods at the link in the episode description, especially the bi-monthly Runner Box. The moment you sign up, you will get $10 in fuel cash to spend at the marketplace. And if you use my code Hillary10, you will get $10 off of your first box. And as a member, you automatically get a discount on literally everything at Fuel Goods. So the Runner Box pretty much pays for itself by the time you finish your first week of training. I'm putting a link in the episode description to check out the Fuel Goods, and that code for $10 off your first box is Hillary10. Now let's talk about the BALCO scandal. This is a harder episode to write than I had thought it would be. On the one hand, it is just about impossible to overstate the absolute disgust I feel when it comes to the use of banned substances in sports and the satisfaction I get when a dirty athlete is caught and punished. But I won't take joy in roasting someone who has owned their mistakes, paid for them, and made an honest attempt at redemption. By illegally doping and fervently lying about it until she was caught, Marion Jones disgraced herself and the entire sport of track and field. For the past 17 years, by all accounts, Marion Jones has been scandal-free, working, raising her kids, and just living her life. Both statements are true, and so when telling her story, I will try to keep both things in mind. Born in Los Angeles on October 12, 1975, Marion Lois Jones weathered her parents' divorce before she was in kindergarten. Along with her older half-brother, the girl known by the nickname Little Marion was raised primarily by her Belize-born mom and her stepfather, retired postal worker Ira Toller. She was incredibly close to Toller, who stayed at home with the kids until his death from a stroke in 1987. Losing him devastated Marion. It also played a part in fueling the intense drive that she channeled into sports. Her potential to be world-class was obvious, and Marion's mom moved the family several times during Marion's teen years in order to maximize her daughter's opportunities to become a star. And Marion certainly lived up to expectations. A true two-sport athlete, Marion excelled both on the track and on the court, earning accolades as California's Division I Player of the Year in her senior year. Her high school experience was later described in a Sports Illustrated story previewing her appearance at the upcoming Sydney Olympics as being, quote, a woman among little girls. Her sophomore year, she was the fastest female high schooler in the country in the 100, 200, and 400 meters. The following year, she set the national scholastic record in the 200. This was also the time period in which Marion had started her first brush with allegations of banned substance. She missed a routine drug test, but was successfully defended against potential charges by future OJ attorney Johnnie Cochran. Marion made the 1992 Olympic team as an alternate, but declined the spot. She headed off to UNC, graduating in 1997 with an NCAA women's basketball title under her belt. The same year, she was named that sport's MVP of the Atlantic Coast Conference. By this time, her collision course with the Bay Area Laboratory Cooperative scandal was still several years away, but the framework was in place. The lab, which later came to be known by the acronym BALCO, opened in 1983 in Burlingame, less than 400 miles up the coast from the LA suburbs where Marion was born and raised. On paper, BALCO was a company that analyzed blood, urine, and food supplements, but its real business was, quote, the clear, and at the time undetectable version of the performance-enhancing steroid THG. Using connections he had established in the sports world, BALCO founder Victor Conte was able to sell the clear from at least 1996 until 2003, when an anonymous source provided the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency with a syringe containing THG residue. A lab at UCLA was able to develop a test to detect the clear, and existing samples from 550 athletes were analyzed. 20 tested positive. It would later be revealed that the anonymous source was U.S. sprint coach Trevor Graham, and within 2 months of his tip-off, federal agents staged a raid at BALCO facilities. From there, the dominoes fell, beginning with dozens of athletes, including Marion Jones, subpoenaed to testify in front of a grand jury. A pair of journalists from the San Francisco Examiner documented the scandal, which involved Team USA track and field athletes, as well as those in the NFL, MLB, and a range of other sports. Graham's motives have been questioned since BALCO first became international news. But the end result was a lifetime ban for him and convictions for 11 people associated with the lab, including a 4-month prison term for Victor Conte. The 2 most high-profile athletes ensnared in the scandal were San Francisco Giants slugger Barry Bonds and Marion Jones. Jones had been the darling of the 2000 Olympics. By then married to UNC track coach and Olympic shot putter C.J. Hunter, she had been bold in her prediction that she would bring home medals in all 5 of her events. She delivered, collecting gold in the 100, 200, and 4x4 relay, and bronze in the long jump and 4x1. Notice I used the word collecting because collect medals is ultimately what she did. She did not earn them. She collected 2 gold medals at the 2001 World Championships and went undefeated during all of 2002. She took most of 2003 off for the birth of her first child, and then everything came crashing down. When her name was first linked to THG, Jones emphatically denied using any type of performance-enhancing drugs. When questioned by the grand jury, she insisted that she had been told she was taking flaxseed and never questioned it. In 2004, she filed a $25 million defamation lawsuit against Victor Conte, claiming that he had falsely named her as one of his clients in an attempt to, quote, destroy her career and reputation. The suit was settled out of court. Jones continued railing against the accusations until October 2007. By then, she had distanced herself from C.J. Hunter, whose 4 failed drug tests just before the Sydney Games had cast the first negative light on Jones. The couple divorced in 2002, and she had a baby with then-boyfriend and fellow sprinter Tim Montgomery the next year. Then Montgomery earned himself a ban as well, thanks to BALCO, and a prison sentence made longer by his later guilty plea to a heroin distribution charge. I read dozens of articles and listened to many news reports while researching this episode and couldn't find anything explaining what made Jones finally admit that she had knowingly used the clear for 2 years, beginning in 1999. The evidence against her was definitely strong and included ledgers, doping calendars, and blood test results tied to Jones that were uncovered in the BALCO raid. Whatever her motivation, on that day in October 2007, she finally admitted that she had lied to the grand jury 4 years earlier. In a letter she read to the press, Jones apologized for letting down her family, her country, and herself. This is a quote from her. "It is with a great amount of shame," she read from a prepared statement, "that I stand before you and tell you that I have betrayed your trust. I want you all to know that today I plead guilty to 2 counts of making false statements to federal agents." She faced repercussions not only for lying about using steroids, but also for lying about Montgomery's involvement in a money laundering scheme related to cashing millions of dollars in fraudulent checks. Jones was sentenced the following January to 6 months in Fort Worth's Carswell prison, followed by 2 years of supervised release and 800 hours of community service. She reported to the prison that March to begin her sentence, and during her incarceration, she spent 49 days in solitary confinement after getting in a fight with a fellow inmate. From everything I could find, that altercation was the last time that Jones ran afoul of the law. She did insist to Oprah in her first post-prison interview that she had believed she was taking flaxseed and had never knowingly taken steroids, a claim that has been disputed by Victor Conti, among others. She did admit to making a conscious decision to lie to prosecutors when she was confronted with the evidence in 2003. Based on everything I read, it's hard to believe that Jones did not realize she was taking steroids. Regardless, she served her time and made an effort to stay under the radar in the years immediately following her release, living a quiet life in Austin with Barbadian sprinter Obdeli Thompson, to whom she was married from 2007 to 2017. She wrote a memoir in 2010, briefly played in the WNBA, and now lives with her longtime partner and her 2 younger children. In January of this year, Jones told People magazine that, quote, "Over the years, I've shared my sincere apology for letting down so many people, and it's time to move on. It's not an answer that some people will like, but that's how I feel." By all accounts, that is exactly what she's doing. Jones' son with Thompson, who was less than a year old when she went to prison, is now a freshman sprinter for the University of Texas. She has said that she hopes the bad choices she made and the positive turnaround she fought for after being released will serve to keep him and her other children from following a similar path. In a letter she wrote to her oldest 2 kids while behind bars, she said that she believed that, quote, "The reason why I made the awful mistake and a few thereafter was that I didn't love myself enough to tell the truth. I have hidden behind my obvious talents for much of my life for fear that the weak, sad, hurt, and vulnerable Marion would emerge and ruin the plan for my life." She has said that she believes she could have won those 5 Olympic medals without the use of steroids. She's probably right, which makes the whole thing even more senseless and more tragic. Jones turns 50 next month and is the founder and co-host of the Second Wind podcast, which launched earlier this year. Her Instagram tagline is, quote, "Still running, still rising, still relentless," and it candidly documents her life as a coach, a person of color, and a mom of 3 who faces the same challenges as other women in midlife: menopause, sending a kid off to college, and accepting that no one can hold back the passage of time. If anyone knows what it's like to face the realities of a future that isn't always certain, it's Marion Jones. That is it for today's episode. Thank you for listening. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on alerts, rate 5 stars, and then send this episode to literally everyone you've ever met. It is Fueled Friday, so check out the link to Fuel Goods in the episode description and use my code Hillary10 at checkout. Then join me tomorrow as we hear about the incredible 97-year life of Boston Marathon icon and 2-time winner Johnny Kelly. I'm your host, Running Up That Hillary, and this has been Today in Running History. Today is September 5th. Today is Friday. It also played a part in fueling the intense drive that she channeled into sports. Her potential to be world class. Okay. It would later be revealed that the anonymous, not that. Okay. It would later be revealed that the anonymous source was a U.S. Montgomery